This is Seagate Castle, right at the foot of Seagate in Irvine. At one time, the river came right up to the Seagate entrance, to the Seagate Castle entrance, and at that time it was the harbour for Irvine. After that, in the 1400s, people like vagabonds, thieves, smugglers used this castle to hide and to do what they had to do in those days. Nowadays it's in disrepair and we would love to see it back to its original condition. It will take time, it will take money, but our hope is there because it's so special in the hearts and the minds of the people of Irvine. One of the important facts about Irvine and Seagate Castle is that Mary, Queen of Scots, allegedly stayed here in 1563 en route to Eglinton Castle. It's something that's special in the hearts of the people of Irvine. Captain Danny, why did the Carters come round here after 5 o'clock on Marymass Day?
Well, basically it's to pay homage to Mary, Queen of Scots, who allegedly stayed here, and also in history where the Carters fought for Mary at the Battle alongside. So when the parade leaves the moor at 5 o'clock, it makes its way on a long Colling Road down to Seagate, where we have a small ceremony at the gate of Seagate, whereas the provost will join the captain while the captain's mounted on his horse. We will do 3 cheers for Mary, as I said, for the homage for the battle alongside and also a visitation to the castle here. And then the provost then would reciprocate by thanking the society for the afternoon sport and the hospitality on the moor.
And we burst into song. What song do we sing, Danny?
We sing Scots Wi' Hae, which I won't sing tonight.
We do know that at one time this area was called Seagate Foot because the river came right up to the castle entrance. It's good that it doesn't happen nowadays, or we couldn't have that ceremony at Marymass.
No, certainly not. But basically, well, the Carters' history was formed at the harbour side, and this would be, one time as was said earlier, this was the harbour side, and the Carters was formed to carry the goods that was brought in by ships and boats to other parts of Scotland. Because basically when the Carters was formed, there was no River Clyde. This was the closest port to Glasgow. So all the goods for Glasgow and the west of Scotland would come into Irvine. And my role then would be, as captain, would be to allocate all the jobs for the day. And a society was formed to keep it in-house, so nobody could come in and steal the jobs of the local carters. So that was basically why the Carters was formed, was to carry the goods to the west of Scotland. They would carry the whisky from Irvine, from the port. If anybody knows Irvine at all, they would head up through the Glasgow Vennel, up through Bank Street, up through Girdle Toll, and on their route to Glasgow.
Captain Danny, much is made of Mary, Queen of Scots allegedly staying in Seagate Castle, but it's part of the history and it's as dear to the hearts and the minds of the people in Irvine. How do you feel about Mary, Queen of Scots passing this way on her way to Eglinton Castle?
I think probably 99% sure. I've not heard anybody say that she hadn't visited it. But also, if we go back in later history, in 1928, when the council introduced the Queen and the Marys, that's why they picked Mary, Queen of Scots and her 4 Marys. So basically there is a lot of history between the Carters and Mary, Queen of Scots, and obviously it was between the council and the Carters that decided to enhance the parade, because up to that time it was just only horses and the Carters and some of the local community, where they decided to bring in the royal party and make it more community based, which I'm glad, and council will say also that it is community driven nowadays. You need to have the community to make it such a festival it is. It's a 12-day festival, it's a long festival, and without the community we would struggle to fill the 12 days.
We've spoken about the possibility of opening up Seagate Castle, and Danny has been involved in talks about the possibility of even holding a fundraiser in here in Seagate Castle. The Ceilidh, which has been part of the Carters' history over the past few years, we were thinking of changing that to hold the Ceilidh here in the grounds of the Seagate Castle. What's the possibilities of that take up?
Up to just before the COVID kicked in March, we actually had a series of meetings in here with some of the committee and some members of the council, and prior to Marymass we were going to run a sponsor event in the castle here. It would be tea in the castle. There would be no alcohol in it, it'd just be tea, and it would allow the sponsors to come in. We were going to turn one of the dungeons into a showcase, clean it out, some subtle lighting, and have a sponsors evening. This is something that obviously, because of COVID this year, why Marymass is virtual, but next year it will certainly be on the cards again.
This year has been special, it's been like no other. We always say that Marymass is never the same twice. It must retain its traditions. But this year we have been forced to do things differently, both the council and the Carters together. What do you see as being the virtues of the way that it's being done this year, the virtual Marymass?
The Carter Society and Marymass Festival Committee work hand in hand, and a couple of the members of the Carters Committee and a couple of members of the Marymass Festival Committee got together and decided that we could do something virtual. So we could have looked around to see what other groups was doing, and we found that the other groups was tending to be kind of relating to just a history. So they could have taken a decision where that they would try and incorporate some of the events that happen only at Marymass time, like the dog show, the flower show, and obviously there's still the historical element, but they decided to try and make it virtual so that people who would normally enter competition at this time of year felt as if there was still something. And I was never into the virtual stuff, but I must admit over the past 6 weeks I've learned a lot more, and I know it's been well spoke about the town. And the good thing about the virtual, because next year, hopefully with COVID past, we will return to horseback, we will return to the big parades, but that's not to say that we could add to the festival by doing some virtual events during the same festival. Billy Kerr, who for years has done the graveyard tour, done a virtual graveyard tour this year. It'll be added to the festival during the time. Possibly next year it could go back to being live, but I'm sure there's other virtual events that we could think of that could enhance the programme, not take over the programme but enhance it. So that's one of the good things of the virtual. Other to look forward to, we've got a Marymass quiz that will be coming out. As I said, you've got Billy Kerr's virtual graveyard tour, you've got the dog show, you've got the flower show, the folk club, who was originated because of Marymass. This will be their 51st year. They've got a book coming out. They actually had some of their bands pre-record stuff, send it in. Same with some of the local musicians, they've pre-recorded and send it in. Everything that you'll see in the virtual has been done with social distancing, and majority of it being pre-recorded, obviously, but we just felt that was the best way for the festival this year to keep it still in everybody's minds.
Thank you to Captain Danny.